Released November 11th, 2021 by developer ACT and publisher Casper Games, Lost in Abyss is by far the creepiest VR horror game I've played in a while. As a matter of fact, may very well be the creepiest VR game I've played, period. Thank you to the publisher for the review key. Before jumping into the details, let me first say, Lost in Abyss is by no means a refined or polished experience in several ways. But that aside, jank and all, this is one well-made atmospheric VR walking sim. It explodes with character and style. Yes, a video game can exhibit character, its distinguishing features, traits, qualities. And Lost in Abyss, while it does fall short on several counts, picks itself right back up in other places that certainly matter. I'll do my best to talk story, as this is a weird one, for lack of a better word. You're some guy named Landon, who may be in a coma, trapped in a dream. You're stuck wandering about this eerie old house, solving puzzles, piecing clues together to figure out the mysteries surrounding a girl named Lilith and her family who were brutally murdered, while at the same time trying to get the hell out of, well, apparently hell. But here's the thing. 90% of what I told you, I didn't learn in-game. I got this from the press kit. The actual game is incredibly light on exposition. So, if you're not press, or a reviewer of some kind, who took the time to read the press kit, you'll run through the entire game none the wiser. The story is incredibly vague. You're thrown in and out in a very incoherent kind of way. There are these audio tapes and notes you'll find along the way, along with some really obscure clues you pick up. But best believe, it would suit you to simply enjoy the ride and forget this incohesive story. The visuals. I love the way this game looks, because although much like the rest of Lost in Abyss, including its name, which I think from a grammatical standpoint it should be Lost in the Abyss, the visuals are also a bit rough around the edges. It still plays a main part of the overall feel of this game though, the atmosphere. Developer ACT did good by me here. The detailed visuals, although really dark and grainy, truly play a major role in immersing you in the world that the devs created for you. And over in the sound department, Lost in Abyss continues to shine. The score, the atmospheric sounds, the creepy sound effects, all on point. All the creaks and clanks are in place. You open a door, this musty old fridge. Every sound helps to instill terror and suspense. Especially the way I played this, wearing headphones. You may hear some ghostly voice singing, a child laughing, every sound from the score to the sound effects guaranteed to send chills up your spine. And speaking of spines, you may want to ensure you have one before entering into this engagement. There's a disclaimer at the beginning that basically says, in layman terms, if you're a bitch ass, do not proceed.
Has the scare and
all voices are in Chinese, so I'm really not in a position to judge the voice acting, but for most part, based on tones and such, they seem decent. For reasons unclear to me, none of my captures show the subtitles, but fret not, subtitles are here. And like I said earlier, don't stress the story too much, regardless.
Warriors to my old land. Oh, here's tears.
Let's get to the real game seller here. The reason I recommend this game. I'm not trying to play a tough guy here, but the fact is, I'm not easily scared. But of all the horror games I've played, VR or flat, this humble little walking sim had me on edge. At the beginning, you're given a short tutorial of sorts. Then treated to a not-so-pretty, disproportioned cutscene with you laying on an operating table. Then bam, you're back in some horrific nightmare. Now, not to take a piss on the words of the publisher or dev, as what I read in the press kit could easily have been a lost in translation moment. But I never felt like I was supposed to be in a dream, and I'm willing to stand firm to the belief that this was in fact no dream. But whatever, your nightmare begins. You know what? I have a better idea. Let me find a middle ground here, and call Lost in Abyss a story about a waking nightmare. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Lost in Abyss, like I said before, is a walking sim. All you do is walk about, pick up items. Some you store as clues, others you use to solve puzzles, open doors, and so on. It also seems like standing is the only option to play. I tried sitting, but the game did not readjust. While walking about, an interesting thing happened to me. You see, there is smooth locomotion, but no smooth turning. When I checked the options, it seems like there was supposed to be a smooth turning option, but this harkens back to what I said in the beginning. This experience isn't a polished one, not by any stretch. Lost in Abyss lacks refinement. So you'll stumble onto forms of jank like this time after time. But what I'm getting at is, there was only click turning. And because I hate click turning so much. Yes, hate is a strong word, but an apt one at this juncture. And because I hate it so much, it led me to a new experience. A revelation of sorts. Yes. I always knew I could physically turn in any VR game, really, but I never quite used it as I did here in Lost in Abyss. I physically turned for the entirety of my playthrough, and the revelation was, for games like this one that requires no fast or sharp movements where turning is concerned, click turning wasn't really an issue. It actually felt better than smooth turning with the sticks. This was real smooth turning, and it took this frightening, unsettling experience up several notches for me. While walking about this dilapidated haunted house, you carry a kerosene lamp with you in your left hand while interacting with your right the entire time, unable to see more than perhaps 2, maybe 3 feet ahead of you. And believe me when I tell you, the jump scares here are something else. You'll sometimes hear a reviewer say, this game relied too heavily on jump scares, or jump scares are getting old. But not here. These Chinese devs know their shit. I had some issues capturing gameplay here, and ended up replaying the first section several times. There was this one moment that no matter how many times I replayed it, sent goosebumps all over my body every single time. It never got old. And the good news, or bad news, depending on the kind of person you are, is the jump scares progressively got scarier as the game unraveled. Where the puzzles are concerned, maybe you're new here, but if not, you may have heard me say this countless times. I'm burnt out on puzzles. Maybe it's age, but these puzzles are my kind of puzzles. Real easy, real simple. As abstruse as this entire experience appears at times, this was an unexpected breath of fresh air, as only the last puzzle really stumped me for a bit. And this wasn't because it was particularly difficult, but by the time I reached close to game's end, I got lazy. I was spoiled into a comfort zone, and expected everything to be spoon-fed to me as the earlier puzzles were. Now, don't get me wrong, the puzzles weren't like some silly kindergarten shit. But they were no brainbusters, more on a logic-based side of the spectrum. I mean, look at them this way. I've always said, in my own defense, all puzzles need not be some huge complex production. Who's to say what puzzles or obstacles one would face in a fictional scenario like this anyway? So, thanks to the developers for cutting players like me some slack. There are times, and this goes back to the jank, as I'm not a Lost in Abyss spokesperson here to sing this game praises all the livelong day. There are times when it seems like you can or should be able to interact with most items you see, but it's not so. If you try to pick up certain items that are not integral to the game's progression, they'll just kind of zoom out of your reach. I'm not certain how well I can illustrate this in a flat video, but yeah. Then there are times when you'll pick up useless crap. In order to tell which objects are useful, just look out for that white dot above them. Lost in Abyss is also a pretty linear experience, and this is a part of that linearity. Now, I may not have made this abundantly clear when I spoke on the spook factor, but this experience isn't just spooky, it also has zero chill in the M-rated department. There's some horrific things going down in this game, some truly frightening scenes with extreme gore. There's this one puzzle where you need to dismember a corpse to get through it. Look, I played a little bit of Outlast, heard even more about it, and I know there are games out there just as grisly, but personally, I can't recall ever going this dark in a game before. Maybe it's a VR thing. Even the flat version of RE7 paled in comparison to the VR version, so maybe that's what it is. But this game does not play by conventional, or any rules for that matter. While there's no explicit sexual content, as far as terror and gore are concerned, look, just do not let your kid play this. I'll leave it there. Should you decide not to heed my warnings, then hey, go with God, motherfucker. Go with God. Lost in Abyss played some serious mind games with me all the way to the dark, unsettling end. But I loved every minute of it, with all its unrefined moments, and of a short wrap time, which is about an hour depending on you really. Lost in Abyss gets 2 thumbs up from me. This was a magnificent horror experience, which by the way couldn't be anywhere near as terrifying had it been flat, but it's got my stamp of approval. Grab it if you can, it'll be worth it. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let's say I pissed you off though. Then hey, this ain't your first time around the block. Go show those hate buttons some much needed sweet, tender love and affection. Then keep it moving. Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.